How you doing, folks? You're watching Onward with Onrie. I'm your host, Onrie Kompan, and this week we're going to be talking about how to conduct yourself professionally on social media. Now, all of us have Facebook profiles, and everybody has profiles on other social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram and all that wonderful stuff. And we use these platforms to not only promote our work, but to also stay connected to friends and people we care about, family, all that lovely stuff. Now, there is a very thin line between, how people see us who are fans of our work and people who are our friends and family. And if you are a comic book creator who is doing everything by yourself, it is very, very, very important that you conduct yourself professionally. You have to look at, you may work from home, but when you are going on Facebook and when you're posting stuff, you need to think about how you're conducting yourself, and you need to think about it like you're in an office environment. That's how you want to come off. That's the kind of mindset you want. It's not how you want to come off. You want to come off being genuine in yourself. But the thing is that you're in this environment where everything is taken out of context. And today I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to basically watch out for certain things that could get you into trouble, and hopefully you can stay out of it by following these tips. So the first thing I think that is very, very important is, before you ever post anything on social media, rehearse your lines. This is your one chance to actually say what you want and for it to come off the way you want it to. And if you write everything up, it's much harder in a way that sounds right to you. And you rehearse the lines, meaning you read it back to yourself, and you give yourself a second to kind of step away from what you're feeling in the moment and actually read it and see how it could be perceived, and edit yourself essentially. You are basically saying what you want to say in the most effective way. I see a lot of people posting stuff and just throwing it out onto the internet, and it gets misconstrued all the time. Like, there was one guy the other day who I noticed posted something, and there were a ton of editing mistakes, he posted a new logo, and there was a spelling error in the logo. And I think it's important to kind of check yourself and look at the work carefully, before you post what you're excited to show off to your fans. Because once you get it out there, people are gonna start forming their opinions about you, and you're always gonna have people who are gonna support you. Family and friends are always gonna come and give you that like and all that stuff. But I think if you take your time to really think about what you want to say and say it the right way, you not only come off sounding more intelligent, but people will respect you more, because they know that when you do post something, you ain't going to say something stupid. And that kind of brings me to my second point. So the second thing you want to avoid completely is saying anything that is divisive or offensive. All right? And this can range from a wide variety of things. It's not necessarily like saying something that's political. All right? Like, we all know political stuff is divisive, but there are other things that are divisive too. Like, if you notice on my social media page, I often refrain from stating my opinion of things that I don't like. If I like something, I'll say that I love it, but I ain't going to tell you what I don't like. I mean, if you and I are having a conversation, I'll tell you what I don't like, but I don't want to necessarily offend someone's taste. Like, if I tell you all that I don't like, let's see, let's say I didn't like the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, which honestly I haven't seen yet, but let's just say I don't like that movie. I really hated it. And I just go out there and I say, oh, this movie sucks. I am going to offend somebody who liked that movie, all right? And in most cases, if I wasn't in the business of promoting Eastern Shin and promoting myself as a writer, I wouldn't give a shit if I offended somebody else. But I am in this business, and someone who likes Bohemian Rhapsody might like Eastern Shin, and they don't even know it. And just because they heard me say that, now they don't want to read anything that I've written because that movie really touched them and they're really big Queen fans or whatever the case is. So be careful of that, especially when it comes into the comic book industry, because there's a lot of creators out there and people are friends with them. Like, for example, if, let's say I didn't like a certain comic book creator, like I hate Mark Waid, and I start, you know, writing about how much I hate Mark Waid. Well, I'm obviously going to be split between my fans, you know, and I wouldn't write anything bad about Mark Waid anyway because Mark has been very kind and, you know, wrote a nice a blurb for Easton Shin. So why would I say anything bad about him? Even if I didn't like something he wrote, there's no reason for me to go out there and publicly shame him. You know, like, think about these kinds of things. You know, what you say has an impact on your audience, and it's important that you're aware of that. You know, you are, as a comics creator, as somebody who's, you know, putting work out into the world that people are reading and digesting and sharing, you have more power and more responsibility than you give yourself credit for. You know, you may think like, oh, I'm just doing comics, who's really reading it? You know, people are reading comics. You know, like there are hundreds of thousands of people go to comic conventions every year, and yeah, they may be going there to see celebrities and stuff, but they're still coming there to read and find new comics. And comics are the hot topic today, right? Like, comics are the hottest comic book themed movies are, you know, what sells today. So you as a comics creator, you know, have a huge impact, and you never know what could happen tomorrow. You know, your opinion could, you know, be a big deal once your work becomes a big deal. So don't discredit yourself. Be aware of what you're saying and what effect it could have on other people around you. And don't say anything divisive. You know, think about it. Would you want somebody who is big putting you down and shaming you? No, you wouldn't. So be considerate. You know, if you don't like someone's work on the internet, you know, like you see some other guy's work and, you know, he's asking for people's opinions and his work just fucking sucks. Don't go on his page and tell him his work sucks. You can message him privately and give him some suggestions. Because guess what? You know, you started out where he did, and you weren't that great when you first started either. So there's no reason for you to go out there and tell someone that they suck. You know, if they come to you and ask you your opinion personally, that's a different story, and they're looking for improvement. You know, help guide them. You know, there's no reason to shame anybody publicly. You know, if you don't want it done to you, don't do it to other people. All right? Be respectful. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. All right? And that brings me to my third and final point. Remember, it's not personal, it's business. When you get on social media and you're a figure, a writer or an artist or whatever, and you're promoting your work and you're using social media to do that, forget your personal shit. Leave it off of social media. You can have your friends. You can post pictures of your kids, but keep it positive. You know, you can post pictures of all the wonderful things going on in your life. There's nothing wrong with that. But keep it positive. Don't start telling people about all the terrible things going on in your life. Like, I remember one time this guy, he was getting a divorce. He's like a big comics creator. And he was sitting there talking about how his wife was cheating on him all these years and blah, blah, blah. And people are running to him for sympathy. And they're coming to him, but not for the right reasons. They're pitying him. They weren't like, you know, truly getting behind him because of his work. And is that really what you want? Do you want people to come running to you because you have personal problems? Keep that shit off of Facebook. And, you know, keep it as, you know, straight as you can. You know, remember, even though you're not working in an office environment, think of what you're saying and how it can be perceived by people around you, you know. And it's very easy to get, it's easy to forget these things because when you're an artist or a writer, you know, you work in a very secluded environment, you're by yourself all the time, and your connection to the world is through Facebook and through all these social media platforms. And it's a wonderful thing in some ways, but it's not like the real world. It's not the same thing as walking into a room full of people where they can see how you express yourself, and, you know, they can get a sense of how you talk, and when you say something, it's much harder to misconstrue because you're putting it into proper context with your words. When you're on social media, people can't tell what you mean sometimes when you say certain things. Everything can get taken out of context. So it's very important that you edit yourself, that you don't say anything divisive, and that you remember that you need to be professional. This isn't personal, this is business. Alright? Okay guys, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, onward to victory.